Hey everybody, welcome to Always Bored, Never Boring. It is that time of the month again when I receive a bundle of Warhammer 40,000 Conquest magazines. Now, for those of you who are new to my channel and don't know what this is all about, Warhammer 40,000 Conquest magazine is a Partworks magazine from Hatchet Publishing in association with Games Workshop. It comes out every week, and each week you get a magazine with a selection of Games Workshop products, either miniatures, paints or other hobby tools. And because I'm a subscriber, I get them in batches of 4 once a month. When they turn up, I do a series of videos where I look through them and I figure out the value of purchasing the products at retail, and we'll do a little comparison and say how things are going and whether it's a good deal or not. However, today I'm not actually talking about one of the magazines. I am talking about something that came with this latest batch of magazines, and it is this. It's a hardback book in a slipcase, and it says Conquest on the front, and it has nice gold leaf embossing and then spot gloss here and here, and yeah, it's a book, and it came with my latest batch of 4 issues. Now, before we take a look at it, I'm going to get all of my negative points out of the way. I know you're supposed to do like a compliment sandwich, aren't you? You're supposed to say something good, then say something bad, and then say something good to sort of offset that. But I'm going to front load all my negatives. So I got all the negative stuff out of the way, and then we'll have a look at it and see what it's like. First of all, I didn't actually want this book. Now, with a Partworks magazine, what they quite often do, they did this with, I've in the past I've subscribed to a Marvel Superheroes one, I've subscribed to a Marvel Graphic Novels one, I've subscribed to multiple Lord of the Rings chess set ones. And what they have a tendency of doing with Partworks magazine is every now and again they will drop in an additional product, a sort of limited edition premium type product. And if you're a subscriber, they send it to you automatically. Now, they usually give you an opt-out, and they actually did give you an opt-out with this particular book. However, it was on a letter that was with the invoice at the bottom of the box of last month's batch of magazines. Now, I never bother looking at my invoice. Maybe I should, but you know, I get a box with 4 magazines in it, and then at the bottom of the box there's an invoice. You know, I know what I've paid for the magazine. I've seen it come out of my account, so I don't bother looking at the invoice. I know what I've been charged. I know what I'm expecting to pay each month. But with that invoice, there was a letter saying, as I am a subscriber, I have automatically been reserved this book. And it said if you don't want it, you had to phone up and actually cancel the reserved copy that they had for you. I never saw that letter. And so, I got this book. Now, you pay for it in addition to your subscription. So the first negative point is that I never actually wanted it. I never asked for it. I never ordered it. It just got bundled in. And yes, it's my fault for not seeing the letter. But even then, I would have had to have gone through the hassle of actually phoning up and cancelling the order. So that's one thing. The second thing is it was 15 quid. Now it's quite nicely done. It's in a nice slipcase, but it's not. You know, it is a really nicely produced book. Hatchet Publishing, they make nice printed materials, but yeah, I wouldn't have paid 15 quid for it. As I will show you when I show you what the contents of the book are, because I'm keeping that a secret for now. But let's just say for now, I wouldn't have paid £15 for it. I do wonder why they didn't just put this as one of the products in the premium subscription. That would have made more sense to me, because it's a sort of a premium type product. If they had said, you know, when you pay £1.50 extra a month, because I'm on a standard subscription, which means I just get the magazine each month. But there was a premium subscription option where you paid an additional £1.50 per magazine, and you got some good extra. Well, I say good. I wasn't that impressed with it, but you might be impressed with it. Some extra kit. some extra bits and pieces. And to me, this would have fitted perfectly in that premium subscription. As you know, after 20 magazines, you get some extra premium bits and bobs and this book. That seems like that would have been a good thing to be in that. But there we go. It isn't. It wasn't. It's a way of getting some extra money from the subbers. The third issue I have with it, and it's actually an issue with this batch of magazines as a whole, is that all of my previous bundles have come in a box. This bundle of magazines came in a plastic bag with absolutely no protective packaging at all. Now imagine a magazine with some Games Workshop plastic miniatures, and then a magazine with some Games Workshop plastic miniatures, and then a magazine with some Games Workshop plastic miniatures, and then a magazine with some Games Workshop plastic miniatures, and then a hardback book on the top, wrapped in a plastic bag and sent through UK postal system. It is a miracle that I didn't get a bag of plastic dust in the post. Surprisingly, the Games Workshop miniatures pretty much survived unscathed, but I would be expecting a lot of people to be getting broken miniatures in the post. And now this, if I had received broken miniatures in the post, if they're not too badly broken, I can easily repair them. You know, I've been working with miniatures for years. But this is a product, this magazine is a product for new hobbyists. And a new hobbyist getting a bag of broken miniatures in the post is a big deal, and it's a concern. Because, you know, they may not know how the best way to fix them and put them back together, or whatever. So I'm expecting Hachette to get a lot of people contacting them saying, I've got a bag of broken miniatures in the post. But luckily most of mine survived. There was a few bends, a few breaks, because contrary to popular belief, Games Workshop miniatures are really quite robust. I've never had one break on me, and like I say, I was expecting them to when I saw how this arrived in the post, but they didn't. However, the book itself did not survive the journey unscathed. The Games Workshop miniatures stabbed and poked and ripped and tore and bit into the slipcase. Luckily, of course, it's in a slipcase, so the only damage is on the slipcase itself. But you can see that as it's gone in the post and it's sat on the miniatures and it's scratched backwards and forwards and dinged, and seriously, how the miniature that did that to a hardback book did not actually snap, it's a bloomin' miracle. So I have actually contacted Hachette Publishing and just said, I paid £15 for a book that I didn't necessarily want, and it's turned up looking like a lion's had a go at it. So I'm not very happy about that. They could have done much better with that. At the very least, you know, you don't put a hardback book on top of a load of plastic miniatures. It's common bloody sense. Anyway, those are my negatives. Those are my negative issues. Let's have a look at what this actually is. Look at that. Like I say, it's a very beautifully done book. It's got, like I say, a nice gold leaf and the spot glossing. On the back it says, for over 30 years, the heroics and horror of the Warhammer 40,000 universe have been immortalised in art. It is through these visions of the 41st millennium that we see mankind's dark and distant future, from the glorious spires of towering cathedrals to the blood-stained soil of desolated planets. We are given revealing insights into what humanity has become and the threats against which it must endure. This book is a celebration of the art that has brought the Warhammer 40,000 universe to life for enthusiasts across the globe. Yes, it is an art book. Now, I love me an art book. I've got some really nice Lord of the Rings art books. I've even got an art book that was put out by Fantasy Flight Games, which had artwork from their Arkham Horror games. But I wouldn't have paid £15 for this particular art book because, well, let's have a look. So it's very, very beautifully done. I don't think I'll show you everything because it's an art book. Obviously, Games Workshop art is absolutely beautiful. And it is nice to have a book of beautiful Games Workshop art. What they've done is they've split the book into 2 sections. The first section covers the Ultramarines. You see a lot of this is the new Primaris artwork. There's some Ultramarines fighting Nurgle beasties. If you've never seen a lot of Games Workshop artwork, just spend a bit of time looking at one of these big battle vistas, because they really are. You're constantly going to see new things. I mean, the more you look, and you can see down here, these poor chaps are going to have a hard time with these mephitic blight drones, blight haulers. Sorry. And there's the drones coming in here. You can see in the background there's bad stuff happening. And there's just constantly stuff going on in them. They're wonderful things to kind of lose yourself in for a while. I do absolutely love Games Workshop art. I'm a big fan of most of it. And I do like how they build height and they layer in depth on their large scale fight pictures. Usually you get a sense of things. There's elevation involved. You get sort of towers of people piling up on each other, like this, for example. I mean, it's not just here's a row of Ultramarines and here's a row of Death Guard and they're fighting each other. It's this sort of pile up and a spire of bodies forming. This is quite interesting. This is a Primaris Ancient by Paul Dainton. And this is a Primaris Lieutenant by Paul Dainton. And I think it's clear to say that he used the same sort of wire framework and musculature for both characters, because they're in the same pose. It's just this one's holding on to the edge of a door, this one's holding on to his banner. But the legs are basically in the same position. It's different. It's not the same piece of artwork, but I think you can see that it's based on the same structure. And that's an interesting little insight into how artists are going to pump out quite a lot of artwork to meet deadlines and things like that. I thought that was interesting. So what they've done is the first half of the book is the Ultramarines. We get quite a lot of pages like this, which is a shame, because obviously they're very interesting. After you've been looking at the big sort of fight sequences and stuff, the big fight scenes, and then you go to pages like this, they seem a little bit less interesting, but they are very good for using as painting guides and things like that. You know, you can sort of look at one of these and go, I'd like to try that as my paint scheme for my Marines. And then you've basically got the whole body there. You've got the shoulder pads, weaponry, alternative helmets for the sergeants and whatever. It's a really good way to get an idea of how you want to paint your miniatures. There's some imps. This is a piece of artwork from Space Hulk. Space Hulk's Sin of Damnation. And then here we go, and then we go into the Nurgle-focused side of things. Love our Nurgle boys. And like I say, it's all, you know, none of it's new for this book. It's all recycled from other places. So it's a really nice book for people who have been introduced to Warhammer 40,000 through Warhammer 40,000 Conquest, because it's a good way of getting all that art in one place. And it is cool art. It's lovely art. It really is. But I do feel that the book is a little on the slim side. Obviously, it focuses on, although there's a few other Space Marine chapters in there, it's predominantly Ultramarines and then obviously the Death Guard and Nurgle. So it's not covering any of the other races of the Warhammer 40,000 universe, which makes sense because obviously Warhammer 40,000 Conquest focuses on Death Guard and Space Marines. But it might have been nice to have even just a little section of artwork for other races. At the back, you know, a little bit of Orc artwork, a little bit of Gene Stealer artwork. That's a great picture. It's really cool. Some really nice, manky stuff. But yeah, it would have been nice to have a little section at the back of other things. And there we go. That's basically it. That's your lot. So yeah, it's very, very nicely made. The slipcase is nice and sturdy. It's a little bit thin for the price, although I suppose, you know, it's a really nicely produced hardback book, so I guess £15 is probably what you would expect to pay for a really nice hardback art book. I would have liked to have seen a few more pages, a few more pictures, maybe a little bit just exploring some of the other races beyond what Conquest focuses on. And yeah, and while I personally wouldn't have paid 15 quid for it if I'd have really been aware of the fact, it's a nice product. It's a nice product. Yeah. So don't take me saying I wouldn't pay £15 for it normally under normal circumstances as saying I think it's necessarily a bad product. I think it's nice for people who are getting into the hobby and want to see a lot of the artwork. But if you're going to get things like codexes eventually, and you know, maybe the big hardback Dark Imperium rules book, which might be sort of where you eventually end up once you've been playing through Warhammer 40,000 Conquest for long enough, you're going to see a lot of this artwork again. But then there is something to be said for having it all in one place, I suppose. And that's it, I guess. I guess I'm in two minds about the whole thing, really. I think my negatives outweigh the positives, the negatives that I front-loaded into the video. But I do think it is nicely produced. What does everybody else think? Impressed? Or not? Share your thoughts in the comments. Love to hear them. And I will see you all again very soon. Bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye.